Greetings, all you wild and weirdos and weirdettes out there in wild and weird radio land. It is Iron, that is Joe over there, and there's a bunch of Sasquatch prints behind him, and I think there's maybe even a UFO sketch on the wall. There's some stuff. Nah, anyway,
yeah, there's a whole room full of stuff.
Yeah. So anyway, there's a hat. But okay, so welcome everyone. Boy, do we have an incredible show.
And the chat is wild tonight.
Yeah, they're excited. They're excited. We're back. We weren't here last week. We're back this week.
Yep.
And man, do we have some ground to cover. There's been a lot
of
do
we ever have some ground to cover.
There's been a lot of developments. We got back from the Flatwood show there this past weekend, met a lot of incredible people who came out to see us. Thank you so much for coming out to see us and picking up some art and just making our day. It was absolutely amazing. A lot of energy. The energy was insane at our booth. That's all I can say. Like everybody who came to that booth had a blast.
Everybody who showed up at the table was having a great time, and it was the party is what it was.
The party. But that's
our table's always a party for those of you guys who have been with us on the road and or not. Come hang out with us. Come find us at a show. And what better show to find us at? Than
the one coming up.
Oh, here. I don't know. Maybe this one.
Probably that one.
Guys, this weekend is the Mothman Festival. We are doing an unprecedented 2-hour-long workshop.
Yeah, this is it. This is the one we've trained for. We're ready. No, I'm kidding.
Right.
But for real, this is it. This is boots on the ground and wheels up and all that. This is what we seriously do train for all year. It's a prep for this one.
It is. It's show prep all year for this one. Yeah. This is our Madison Square Garden. This is the Mac Daddy of them all for us.
Pretty much.
And to be able to be a part of it again this year is tremendous.
Fantastic. And for you guys who were at Flatwood, you got a little demonstration of some things that are to come. And those things that were to come were these two guys.
What?
Yeah. And so they showed up and stole the show there toward the end. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We've got we've got a whole photo shoot for you guys. That's what we're trying to tell you. We've built it over the year here. There's full background. There's gonna be
literally built it over the course of since November of last year to now.
Yeah, there's gonna be props. There's gonna be all kinds of cool stuff. You're gonna have an intergalactic beach there to just kind of chill out and have your little photo op with, and all for the low price of like $2 or any donation you would give us. Honestly, it just helps keep the show going. And to find that, you're going to scurry yourself down, follow that laser line right there, and you're going to see us. There's going to be 2 spots right there. You see the Wild and Weird booth, and then right beside it, there'll be the photo op, which will be right beside it. That little sign is, by the way, is one of the signs that you're going to have that we had made for this. Those will actually, you'll be able to hold those, kind of like you do in the escape rooms, right? It's the same kind of thing. They look amazing. And it's just going to be fun. You're going to have a blast. That's all I'm going to tell you. Please feel free. It is, like I said, it's Hawaiian theme. This is a beach theme kind of thing. It's the last days of summer, and it's it's the endless alien summer is what it's going to be. So come on down and waste away with us at Alienville, and it's going to be a party. It's going to be a party unlike any you can imagine.
That it will be. And for those of you guys who are familiar with Point Pleasant, if you're having trouble figuring out where we are, go down to the home of the Mothman burrito, Rio Bravo 2, and just stand in front of its front door and do an about face, and you're going to be looking right at us.
You're there. Yeah. We are literally right across the street from the Mothman burrito, and fate is just amazing like that. No, I'm kidding, but it's really good.
It Joe, really is.
Get everybody
Larry Hose, what is going on? Can't wait to see you this weekend. Finding the Trackway. What is up? Jay Charlotte's in the house here somewhere. I see that. Jen's in the house. Lisa is here. What is going on? There's Jay. What's up, brother? Don K's in the house.
Hey,
LW
Don.
Marshall.
Where's LW?
Let's see who else we got. Beats is in the house. What's
Beats.
going on, Beats? Hope you're doing well. Hope you're feeling good and enjoying the this wonderful September weather that everybody's having, i.e., hot, dry, and miserable.
Dangerous. A lot of fires.
Absolutely, there are. Gary Schuler, what is going on? LR, what's up? Who else we got? Oz in the Woods is here. What's going on, Oz? Hope you're doing well. Danny Buckner's here. We finally got to meet Danny in person over at the Flatwoods. That was really cool.
Yep.
Got to shake hands and actually meet face to face. It was good times. Then unleash the moths. Yes, absolutely. We've got Ada Cox in the house. What's going on, Ada? Let's see who else we got. Scott Detroll. What's going on, brother? Sorry we missed you this week. Just got home from West Virginia today.
Awesome.
Then we've got Donna Hose in the house. What's going on, Donna? Then who else?
Everybody start getting this thing shared out. We have a pretty big show. We've got to go over some stuff. We've got a lot.
Terry McCullough and Nikki Bennett's in the house.
A lot of there's Dale.
Dale Ty made it this week. What's going on? Good to see you guys back. Octopus with plenty of friends is in the house. What is up?
Like the video, as Octo reminds everyone. Like the video. Yes, absolutely like the video. Hit that like button so we can get those algorithms up and tell YouTube, yeah, these guys are actually worthy. So, yeah, let's do that.
LW says the shirt of all shirts. That's right, my man. I love this shirt. I love the convention, but it was accosted by 2 aliens, caused trauma.
They could have been worse.
Let's get together and sit down next time we see each other. We can maybe talk through that.
They could have been worse, I think.
Pat's in the house. What's going on? Nikki says the freshie that she picked up from you guys is amazing.
Yeah.
The thing is awesome. I got one for my truck too.
They are awesome. There are new freshies coming to Mothman Festival, by the way. All new flavors, all new scents.
Just don't lick them. They're scents. Don't lick them.
I wouldn't do that.
Highly dissuade you from flavoring them.
Well, they have flavor names.
Oh man, so I'm gonna say the Flatwoods scent that Maria concocted. It actually changes scent depending on the temperature of your vehicle, and it's a complete wow because it goes from having this nice warm fruit kind of cidery kind of smell to a really earthy, woody kind of smell when it gets hot, and I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. And like I said, we just took the Flatwoods one up there, so you haven't seen the other ones yet. Eyes breaking the boundary. Let's go.
Holy cow, we got a bunch of people. We got Eyes kicking in. We've got Ada Cox keeping it free. We've got Lisa keeping it. Guys, y'all are killing it. Where'd they go? Here he is.
Fantastic. Did we get everybody?
There we go. That covers all 3 of you guys. Thank you.
I didn't even, it just happened so fast. I didn't even know what was going on. Thank you guys. Multiple blessings out to every single one of you, 3 of you, right? Yeah, I think I got everybody. Guys, good Lord. Thank you so much.
Trackway asked, did you pour some Miracle Grow on that ukulele?
Yeah, man, that's what happens when you do that. I heard that's how it works. Let's see. We've got man, we had a lot of responses from the last what kind of guitar was that? I believe that's my Dean. Yeah, that's my Dean. Yeah. I love the fretboard on the Dean. The Dean's fretboard is really cool. Here, we'll geek out for a second on guitars just for a second for you. I love this thing. Yeah, it's
Oh
got
yeah,
the
that series of Dean was really slick.
you can see it. It's the pearlescent
Mother of pearl inlay in the
Yeah,
fretboard.
yeah, and we've got the same thing going on here with a single stripe right down the back.
Very cool.
So yeah, that's her. Yeah. Anyway, it's kind of loud. I try not to play that one too much in here.
Mark Eddy's in the house. Rob Posey's here. What's going on, guys?
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, so one more really quick plug for the Mothman Festival. Okay. I'm lucky enough to have number one of this, by the way. And hopefully, you can get your very own too if you're fast enough. But this little guy right here is probably one of my favorite sculpts that Joe's done. It's the right size. It's not gigantic. It doesn't fall over. It's really awesome. And for the first 25 who show up, you're gonna get a little info card, a little miniature print. You can hang it on your wall like a little mini printer. You can put it in your dollhouse. I don't really care what you do with it. But anyway, the first 25 people get one of those. And that's free with this. So
and one of you lucky folks is going to be able to get the gray ghost.
Cool. That's just cool.
This was a miss pour, but he turned out really, really cool.
That is
so I decided to keep it, and we're going to put it out on the table. One lucky person is going to be able to get the gray ghost.
That thing is cool. Should almost do a raffle for that. It's so darn cool.
Yeah.
Not kidding. I mean, that thing is, I love that one. And here you go. Here's a picture of him. That's a little
nice.
So there's your launch. He's going to be out there Saturday. Now, this is not a sales pitch. This is the honest truth. Every year we've made a figure, and it doesn't matter how many we make
or how big.
No. They just go. So if you want one, get it fast. That's all I can really tell you, because I don't know when we're going to get to cast more. It doesn't matter, because the ones that you get off the first run are the ones you want. I think those are the cool ones.
But those are the cool ones, man.
Those are the cool ones.
The first run, and we've got a small army built up, and you might actually see me pour a couple more while we're sitting here on the show.
So getting one at Mothman is a really big deal. And they're not, these things are not AI generated. Okay. They're not made in China. They're not, they're not made by poor little,
here's the original.
They're made by him. He makes them. And each one, it's a small batch. So you're guaranteed to get something really cool.
Something cool about this one. Something cool. And I told Ron about it when it happened. This thing levitated away. Yeah. And I say levitated. I know that sounds goofy. Yeah, but I left the mark. Ron, I sketched over it and made the line work into it, but there is a flat spot right there.
Yeah.
That you can see.
We had some high strangeness involved.
Something left into that guy.
For real. There was some high strangeness involved with that. And he reported it immediately when it happened. It literally flew across the room.
The whole thing.
Yeah, it flew across the room, for real. No joke. It moved, and we don't know how. It shouldn't have. There's no way.
Yeah.
But it did. And I said, do not smooth that out. Just leave it in the original. So every one of them's got a little bit of it's got a little high strangeness right there, on the back,
a little flat spot. So, but I did sketch over it to give it texture, so it didn't stand out like a sore thumb.
And it looks great. So
anyway, said, why did small batch catch my attention? Oh yeah, I'm in Kentucky.
That's probably why.
Right. Yep.
So how many of you guys got to see the last episode of it was Blessed by the Spirit of the Mothman? Absolutely. Yeah. I think been, actually, I'll be honest with you. How many of you guys got to see the last episode of Paranormal Horizons?
Ooh, me.
Okay. Yeah, I got to see it a few times. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, more than a few.
That's an editor's joke, guys.
Oh, goodness. Yeah. That show has been absolutely a blast to create. Let me just say that.
Yeah.
And the reactions that this episode has gotten have been just
amazing. Yeah.
Mind
Absolutely
blowing.
amazing. So let's delve in behind the horizon and do what we came here to do. We'll talk about some more Mothman stuff later. We've got some special guests coming on here tonight to join us for this. First one up is going to be Mr. Tony Breeden, and we'll bring him in right as this grows, actually. So here we go. Let's go beyond the horizon. Toby,
Oh,
can
I'm
you
here.
hear us? Oh,
Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
He's got us.
Yes.
He's
It's
got
a
him.
miracle.
Huzzah!
Man, miracle.
It has happened.
Right.
All right.
Everybody's chanting Toby, Toby.
Go, Toby.
Of course.
Go.
Thank you, Adam. Adam is good. Not great, but good.
Oh, goodness.
Hi, guys.
Goodness. All right. So we've got everything rolling now, I think. So, yeah, we got some clips that we can play from the show, and we can address some of the little things on that, and we can just kind of spew off from there. Any questions that you got, like I said, just throw them out there and whatnot. One of the more interesting things that happened during this, and I noticed a lot of people right off the bat, they were like saying, "Oh, you showed her face. You said you weren't going to." Yeah, guys, we did. The
We
first
put
time
timestamps in the videos, guys. There's
well,
timestamps.
yeah, there's timestamps. The first time we were up there, no, we did not show her face. She actually toward the end of the thing, she's like, "Okay, you can show me," and I'm like, "I can't because I shot you from behind all day." So, so the next time we went up, then we did the regular interview, and that's when she was speaking on camera from those. You're literally watching a 3-year investigation unfold, is what you're watching.
Absolutely. It
you're gonna
started in
see little bits.
2021 and it's 2024 now. It's 3 years in the making, 3 years of filming.
Yeah.
LW asks, are the Wineberry stems like Huckleberry, the material nests that were made of in the Olympic project? No, this is like the last thing you want to make a nest out of.
Very, very prickly.
So imagine, wild raspberries and wild like blackberry, how they have the stem. It's a stem with tons of needles and pointy leaves. This is exactly what we're dealing with a wineberry stem, except for it is covered in an absolute absurd amount of hair-like filaments that are all needle sharp.
Mm-hmm.
So the entire stem during the fall will turn like crimson red, but during the spring you have a nice green stem covered in bright red filament. And each one of those little stickers will wear you out. It is not pleasant. But they do produce one of the, it's a small berry. It's a small red berry, but it is so concentrated with sugar that they're great for making wine. That's the name. But that's a little schooling on the wineberry a little bit there. Then let's see. Baron, the new doggo, isn't growling at Joe. Is that progress? Maybe.
So
but yeah, 3 years of filming, Ron.
Yeah, 3 years of filming. That's what it was. And it was filmed with multiple cameras, everything from an iPhone, I think 14, all the way up to the new cameras. So you're going to see different quality
on the Android stuff.
Yeah, you're going to see a lot of different qualities with it because it's a true documentary. It was never really meant. Some of it was never really meant to be anything more than just a documentation of this story. That's what we originally went up there for, was just to document the story, because she had a sighting several years before, which was really cool. And then there had been a sound, that I had heard that.
Yeah, that's what got our attention to get us up there in the first place.
Yeah, a couple of weeks before. So, but we went up there with no intent to actually find anything. This was, the very first day we went up there, it was just, I'm taking a recorder and we're going to go up there and we're going to record this interview. And she agreed to it. And that was going to be that, we'll put it in the records and maybe show it, which we did end up actually showing it. We did a video documentary, which is what we do with a lot of our evidence. Anyone who saw, some of the UFO sightings and whatnot. We don't just throw them on a webpage. We actually talk about them. We put it out there and let you see, what we found. And we did that. And it was actually well received. It was very well received. And it got the attention of a few people. And Small Town Monsters actually got a hold of how we did that and whatnot. And they were pretty happy with what the promise of Wineberry was. And Seth actually went up with
came out there for a Sasquatch Unearthed episode.
They did, and went up with us and sat with us during one of our investigations there, and got to see some weird stuff that couldn't quite be explained. And that's kind of how we ended up back at Wineberry, because what was really weird was things escalated at Wineberry between that first time we were up there. And then, because, Beth is like, I don't want anything to do with it at first. And then all of a sudden, she switches after she talks to us. And I've actually got that moment for you guys. I want you to hear some of this, because this is where it kind of changed. And I don't think this made it in.
Here now that you've been up here with us.
Yeah.
Even though there is activity up here. There is something here. What it is, I can't say. But do you feel better at least now, knowing that you can come up here and be safe and not be too worried?
I really, really do. It's like we all broke that unofficial walking bond that scared feeling that I had walking up here. And honestly, it makes me feel good that other people know we're not alone, and we just, there's things here people don't understand. And it feels good to talk to people that understand me.
Yeah.
It's hard when you feel like you're all alone in the world and you've seen things and nobody believes you, and it's really hard. Sometimes it makes you want to just, it's hard, it's tough.
We understand that. We started out exactly in that spot where you're at, and it makes perfect sense to us anyway. So, I'm glad that you're feeling comfortable coming out here. That's one of the main reasons we do what we do.
And there it is. Right before that, she was telling us, some of the stuff about how, the family basically didn't believe her and whatnot. And that has never been seen. That was never seen on Paranormal Horizons. That was never seen on anything we've done. I have a little clip from that too, and just to let you know how far she came from not wanting to do anything with this to always been a little interested in it, but just right on the edge of I don't know if I should run from it or toward it. And again, that's the two options you have when you have one of these experiences. So.
And I was telling my family, my legs were just shaking so. And I was telling my family, my legs were just shaking so bad that they were uncontrollable. It was the most. I can't tell you if it was the best, scariest, wonderful. It's an experience that I will never forget because it was my experience, and this experience taught me that you may think you're smart, you may think you know everything, but, until you see the things that are really out here, you're not as smart as you think.
Pretty well said, actually.
That first trip out there was special.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Tony.
Okay. The thing that I've noticed when I've been researching a lot of the monster accounts and the paranormal accounts for my books is that ridicule is an often used and powerful deterrent from people reporting their sightings. A lot of times when you have like the small town monster phenomenon happen where it hits the media and people start showing up in large numbers, sometimes inebriated, sometimes with weapons, the local media and the authorities will feel the need to, squash the story as quickly as they can for public safety's sake. And the easiest way to do that is to ridicule people. I was talking with Freddie May's son at the Flatwoods Monster Convention, and he said his dad was afraid to talk about it for years because he didn't want to be ridiculed. And then later he was afraid to talk about it because he wasn't quite sure he remembered it right after all those years, which is unfortunate because if you don't write it down immediately, a lot of times you won't, you will forget the details. It happens, you know.
Hats off to him for
that. Years ago, I wrote an article titled Malleable Memory. And it was all about how, you know, if you don't immediately write something down, your brain, you're not trying to embellish on purpose. You're not trying to fabricate on purpose. Our brain just over time will connect wires and it remembers the memory of the memory more than it actually does the events that took place. So it's so crucial for us to, when we have these encounters, to write them down.
It's worse than that. Your brain actually is, and it's just because it thinks it's the most important thing on the planet, that little piece of space up here. And it is constantly trying to categorize things and understand things. And so when it comes across new information, the testimonies of other people, something from pop culture that it's seen, like a movie or somebody's artwork, etc., it will add things to the account. And worse, of course, we know that our memories are, they're full of Swiss cheese sometimes. In my newest book, I actually compare Linda Scarberry's original testimony that she wrote down and compared that to the testimony that she delivered years later to Walmsley and Sargent. And, she describes what we normally think of as Mothman, no head, no discernible arms, that sort of thing, in the original, deposition. But years later, she did make one comment. She had said, and it had wings like an angel, right? Years later, several decades removed, she describes it as having a head and having discernible arms. She had basically transformed it into something that was an angel instead of something that was just like an angel. And that's no fault of hers. That is literally just how our memories work. So it's very important to get very close to the original sources. And if you have one of these encounters, by all means, write it down immediately. Write down what you feel, what you are thinking, any kind of smells that come up, not just what you see or what you think you see.
No,
but
it's just
everything
100%.
that, it impresses upon you at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. And, one of the things, I know Chris had told me about that, Freddie saying the same thing, hats off to the dude because he didn't want to be misquoted. He didn't want them to say, well, you said this. Nope. So he would just clammed up and didn't say anything for the rest of his life.
Well, he was very wise in that respect to recognize that his memory may have migrated.
Yeah. I mean, that was very smart of the man. That's what I told him too. I was like, that's impressive.
It really, because it protects the integrity of the story is truthfully.
Really does. But so many would just run with that and be like, oh yeah, and that's the whole thing. So yeah, you're right. There's this character assassination, basically what it comes down to with a lot of these things. And a lot of times it is the small towns, it's the families, it's all these other sources that just don't want this to be anything,
Well, and I mean, in a lot of these cases, like Christine Van Acker with the Monroe Monster, almost any of the ones that have occurred in West Virginia, people have showed up in large numbers armed with some kind of weapons, occasionally guns, but I mean, at least some kind of weapons. And it gets dangerous because you read reports of hundreds of people each night camped out going through the woods. Somebody's going to get hurt. So they actually have a legitimate concern about public safety. But how they handle it is the most miserly way out possible. They just ridicule the witness. The easiest way to make it go away is to laugh at it.
Yeah, right. And it's true. One of the other things that I think that people really got about this this episode, Joe, was the fact that we didn't, as most, we didn't just run and scream, it's Bigfoot.
Right. That's what that first commenter said.
We didn't just run.
It was refreshing to not see somebody just proclaiming exactly what was happening.
Yeah. Because I remember when we found the toes, all right, the first time, not the second. and how it was just a bear. And then I was like, well, this is wonderful because now we can explain how this works. And that's, that's one of the better sequences in that, in my opinion. And I do have that actually. I have a clip of that right here.
What we're looking at here in a bear footprint, this looks like humanoid because of the shape of it, but it's actually a bear double step. See how we have this nice V channeling right here? That is the rear foot of a bear. A bear's rear foot pad has a V shape. So what it will do is its front foot will come in, step here, and then it steps again right here, actually. And then the back foot will come back up and step almost like here's the front foot right here. The back foot comes in on the same side and will step down right here. So it's like boom, boom. And what that does is it'll create an artificial mid-tarsal break in some point.
Yeah. And that little clip alone garnered a lot of respect from a lot of people the first time that we showed that.
It really did.
Yeah, I commented to Angie a couple of times. Is like, this really adds to the overall credibility of the series, even that you can identify something that's not every print is a Bigfoot, you know. And I really appreciated the little floating bear paw graphic over it, because at first, I'll be honest with you, I'm not a Bigfooter, so I was just like, what am I looking at here? It all looks like mud and mashed grass to me. What is this? And then when you floated that over there, I was like, oh, okay, that's what I'm looking at. Oh, okay, I got it now. I feel so much smarter.
What's really great though is you can actually look at. We have a couple of casts that are just that. You can actually look at it, and you can, once you see that V, you'll know. From that point on, anytime you're out in the field, I knew after I saw this, that was all I needed to see to know what it was at that point.
And usually that is all that, if somebody who's new to tracking and new to recognizing footprints, that once you see it, you can see it on paper. Okay. And that's one thing, but seeing it in person, the way the mechanics make that shape, it suddenly makes it just fathomably loud when you see it out in reality. It screams, I'm a bear.
No, it does. And we've seen it so many times now. It's not even funny. And of course, someone said, when we did finally find what we know to the day is absolutely not a bear. The actual track, they were saying, you didn't have anything. Those are nothing. That was just a mud puddle full of water.
It was a mud puddle full of water that we poured. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Something made the print in the mud puddle.
The exact quote was, "We've got toes." No, you don't. A 500 to 800 pound animal left one print and barely sank into the ground, which was soft, judging by the squishing sound. If it walked through there, it should have been plenty of deep prints, or you casted a mud puddle, which is my guess.
Well, what's funny is what he's talking about, when the squishing sounds. That's me on the other side walking, where I was on a completely different area. Yeah, I was in a completely different area. That's where the audio came from. You were up there near the actual spot where I was walking through that one zone. But yeah, that was all laid down hay and whatnot. You could have a 800-pound gorilla come through there and you just see indentions. That's all you would see. You would get
it's just impressions. That's it.
Nothing. And they were there. There were plenty of impressions.
And
but I don't know what made. No idea.
They came out of the holler. They turned left and took 8 big steps back up onto the hillside.
Yeah, we just happened to have that one land in the middle of a wet area where there was a little bit of water. That was the only thing that happened. It was just dumb luck, and never did anyone expect that. So yeah, that was a good time. I've got actually we've got a special guest sitting back here in the wings, guys. We do have the lady herself, Beth Duncan, is out there, and she is going to join us if you'd like that. I think you might. And because I can't think of anyone else to actually ask some of these questions to, and then I want to get her opinion, and I want to get Tony's opinion, because this is where things went a little weird. Because what happened was we get a call to come back up that now, well, actually, I'll backtrack for you. Before that, I had told Beth that things might start getting a little weird. And just to keep an eye out if things started to get a little strange. Things started to get a little strange. She started seeing these little balls of light, orbs, whatnot. Said they were about the size of a golf ball, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
I told her, of course, don't follow the orbs. None of you people ever listen. None of you listen. It's not a dang one of you ever listen to that. But
did you know that in Australia that they have an orb will-o'-the-wisp sort of tradition that if you catch an orb, you will disappear?
what?
Yeah. And I'm like, no, stop chasing the orbs.
That's a great game.
Horribly
It's a
similar
game of
to
tag.
fairy circles and that sort of thing. And don't go off to Elfland. Nobody needs that.
That's an amazing game right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the prize? You disappear. It's like some weird reverse Quidditch or something. I don't know.
Let's not chase the orbs.
Yeah, let's not chase the orbs, guys. For real, I'm not joking. But I'm going to bring her on, and we're going to talk about what actually did happen, because there's a couple more things that happen between there and in this as well. And yes, Wineberry is one of the places that solidified subject A and subject B. There was someone actually who said something about that, Mr. Joseph, as well, that they really appreciated the change in lexicon. So congratulations. It's actually sinking in.
Yay.
Yeah, it only took
It's working.
years. Okay. Well, let's bring her in. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen. No further ado. Beth Duncan. Come on. Add to stage. Why is she not adding? Is she broke? Oh, hang on. I know. That had her. Do it again. There she is. She's
There
here.
we go.
Look, everybody's here now. Squeeze in. No.
How you doing, Beth? Can you hear us?
Wait, she's muted. Try that again, Beth.
Hello.
There we
Gotcha.
go.
Now she's on board. Ladies and gentlemen, Beth Duncan.
Hey, guys.
As Pat said, remember to slap that like button. It means a whole lot to us, and it helps us boost this video out to even more people. And also remember to share it out with all your weird friends, and like and subscribe to our channel. It is completely free to you guys to do, and it helps us out tremendously.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Beth, according to one viewer out there, they said this was the best, I believe, best series that Small Town Monsters has done. I don't know if I agree with that, but, I'm not going to disagree with a loyal viewer either. So thank you, loyal viewer, whoever you are. And that, Joe and I work together good or something to that nature. They don't know us.
They only see what's on camera.
They only see this. But no, for real. What do you think? What's your thoughts on Paranormal Horizons now that you've seen it and you've been a part of it, a major part of it?
Oh, I love it. It's amazing. You guys did an amazing job. You really did.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, we try
and
to
it gets weirder.
Yeah,
Your
it gets
episodes get weirder and weirder.
Try living it.
Right. So I just teased a little bit about, how it all started getting a little weird. Do you remember the first instance when you saw the lights, the ones that were kind of hovering there, and then you said later they turned like these little golf ball type things?
Yes. Yeah, I do. I had a friend. Well, it was not long after you guys had left. And maybe, what was it? Not a couple days or a week.
Mm-hmm.
And I was still I was still thinking it was just subject A. And it was hard for me to adjust to that because of what I saw. What I saw looked so, when you see hair blowing in the wind, I mean, you think of biological. You think that there's nothing else could be but biological. Okay, but then you start getting these other things that don't make any sense with it, and it will change your mind. Me and my friend Rachel, we went up in the holler looking for something, wanting to see, actually, eye shine. I was shining my light out trying to see eye shine, and I thought that I had seen eye shine over in the field. And of course, I get out and I got a little bit too close to it. Well, we seen this light too up in it was a big, bright white light up
That's
in
the
the
white
sky.
one. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we followed that down there, but then I thought I seen eye shine. So I get out of the vehicle and I'm going over there to it. In the back of my mind, I was like, you know what? I'm not supposed to be doing this. This feels like a bad idea, but I didn't want to miss an opportunity to. So I run over there and realized that there were a bunch of these little red lights floating on top of nothing. Like it was water holding them up by like waving down below this white thing. And my mind wouldn't think quick enough to get out my camera to take a picture. I was kind of recording a little bit, but got so scared I couldn't even point it at the object. And I may have like got something in frame, but not much. And you could hear me in the video. I couldn't even, my mouth got so dry, my tongue got so twisted that I couldn't hardly. And Rachel, she was like, didn't understand what I was saying because she didn't really see it at the time. And she was like, the baby's got a penny in her mouth. I was like, get in the car, just get it out of her mouth and get down the road. And
I remember you telling me about that night.
And she didn't know why I was yelling at her. Like she thought I was being like hateful to her and stuff. But in all reality, I had never seen anything like that.
Yeah.
And I'd seen orbs, but like from a distance, and usually they were just the white ones. And to me, this was just like, it was almost like all these little teeny tiny red dots were hanging from a string from this big, which it wasn't, but this is how in my mind it perceived it. That were these little strings that you couldn't see, and all these little red dots were just floating. It was so weird, and it scared me. It scared me bad until I started seeing more.
Well, Tony, what's that sound like to you?
Well, I have a question. Did they form any sort of a pattern?
They were undulating. It was like a wave.
Okay, so it was like a wave, but were they set up in like a circle? Were they set up in a line?
It was
triangle.
From where, I'm not going to lie to you, from where I was at, I was right down under it. They were up over on the hillside by the field, right in the field, over on the side of the road. And I wasn't staying to look. I seen them and I was gone, to be honest. And it looked to me just like it's just a cluster of them.
Right. And that makes perfect sense. Even in the Flatwoods monster case, I spoke to Nunley's daughter, and she was saying her dad saw it for like a second.
Yeah, I don't really.
That's the impression. Yeah. The drawing you got, that's what you get. So yeah, a lot of times that's what you get. To me, it sounds a little bit like what I've heard described in like early accounts of the Will-o'-the-Wisps. You would see them rocking back and forth. You would see them bobbing up and down. Sometimes they would go in a fast line, or they'd hover for a little bit, and then they do this for a little bit, and then they take off. And you see this a lot in like some of the, ironically, some of the flying saucer accounts from the early 50s too. You'll see like kind of a larger version of that same thing happening, which is for me, intriguing. It's like, so is that just, is there a reason that the smaller ones act like the larger ones to a large extent?
Right.
Can I ask another question?
Yeah.
No.
I know I tend to be motor mouth here, but what started first?
The white light.
No, I mean before that. Was it a Bigfoot sighting? Was it?
Yes.
I know that somewhere in the episode you mentioned that the area gave you the creeps or something.
Well, I don't even know how to say what happened first, because since I was little, things been happening with my family. Okay. Like it's not just one thing. Oh, I seen Bigfoot and something started. But
when we started digging into the history, Beth, one of the things you told us was about your grandpa.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a Sasquatch that actually, I know, you know what? I'm not going to say Sasquatch. Something pushed him with two large hands on his back when he was fox hunting. Pushed him down the hill.
It's a good call.
That's not very polite.
No.
But he'd also seen UFOs in the area 2 times.
And wagon on fire burning.
Yeah.
And I know that during the actual episode, you had mentioned something about an area that just kind of gave you a bad feeling.
Yeah, the whole place, the whole hall. Well, as you walk, I don't know, down at my place now, it's happening everywhere now, but it's more up in as you go towards the spring or
Yeah.
over in the areas that not a lot of people frequent.
So it's a certain area.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, that's interesting too, because
Yeah.
John Keel, when he had a UFO encounter during one of his experiments, his flashlight experiments, during the Mothman flap, he described a zone of fear, like an area where he just like
That
he
makes
couldn't
sense.
explain why it just made him afraid when he was in that area.
I feel that completely.
Kind of what I was wondering about when I heard the episode. I wondered if is it something, because I know sometimes you walk past a place and it just gives you the creeps.
I told my brother not even a week ago. He was like, "I'd like to go up to the spring, walk up to the spring." I was like, "Well, you'll be walking alone. I'm not going up there right now after what I've saw here lately." And he said, "What?" He said, I don't understand." I said, "No, you don't, but I do, and that's all that matters. I don't have to do anything I don't want to do right now. I'll walk all over everywhere else and look for prints and go in the woods. But for some reason, when I walk near the pond or the spring, I feel like my body just don't want, like I'm forcing myself to take one step at a time. And when I do go, that's the way it is. It's always like, all right, Beth, you got this. It ain't nothing. It's just your mind. Just take another step. Just take another step.
And so follow-up question for the two investigators. Did you guys feel anything up there?
The first time we were up there, I didn't feel anything negative. I felt I felt nothing negative.
Felt watched.
Yeah.
Felt watched.
Felt the eyes. You know what I mean? But
we also had something bolt and take off through the laurels above us.
Well, we had something, basically what it sounded like knock on a tree and then throw something, down the hill, which you can just barely hear. Unfortunately, that's all the recording of that there was. We weren't really, completely prepared for anything to happen up there.
It's fair.
The place is weird because you're going to see more in the coming episodes, but things happen in that area, Tony, that are going to really probably make you be like, oh yeah, there's some stuff.
Trackway had a question for Beth. Was the daylight sighting with collar of hair?
It had like a reddish tint to its hair. It was brown, but it had like when the sun hit it, it kind of looked like it was like a little bit red to the hair.
So after we left, you pretty much just like, I'm going to start recording everything. I'm going to start going out there. I'm going to start taking pictures. I'm going to start getting as much data as I possibly can because there's something else going on out here.
Yeah.
Now, one of the more interesting pieces of data that you sent me is the piece where the audio is picking some kind of weird scrambly kind of thing up. I've got a clip of that. I'm going to play that and let you guys hear that.
You guys ain't gonna see nothing, but you'll hear something. Listen.
And right toward the end, you hear a clear knock as well. What was that recorded on?
That was on my game camera.
Okay, that was the game camera. Now, we hear what sounds like radio interference. That's what I'm hearing.
It's definitely some kind of
static,
electronic or interference of some sort. And Ron, if you remember back to episode 2 of Paranormal Horizons, when Adam sends off his signal,
right,
and I radio over, we get a very similar static across the radios.
Yeah, which is kind of weird because we never got any static on our radios whatsoever. But at the same time that we're receiving this radiation spike, at the exact time that we're getting this radiation spike, there's a distortion on the actual comms. And again, these two things should not affect each other. Yet there they are. They are affecting each other. We don't know how. We don't know why. And it made me wonder, when I heard that, I'm like, now because of what we know. How much radiation was there at that time?
Exactly.
We don't know, but there could have been some, which also brings up, the point that what happens later on when we come up within about 12, 15 hours after you saw the orange orbs and you actually got out of the car and chased the orange orbs. Yeah.
Anita has something for you, Ron.
Go ahead.
Says, dude, I think there was a vocalization after the knock.
Oh, there's a lot of stuff.
There's a
lot of
weird
stuff.
sound right after the knock.
There is.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a weird sound, whatever that is.
Yeah. Let me see if I can fast forward that.
Sound like a like that.
Yeah,
there is.
A ratchety sort of sound.
You guys ain't gonna see nothing, but you'll hear something. Listen.
Yeah, you hear that old peaky sound.
That could be a frog.
Could be a frog, yeah.
That could
be a frog.
But she's talking about interference, and that immediately makes me start thinking about the fact that somebody was asking me, and says, well, at work, they were like, well, is there any sort of record of radiation in connection with these things in the past? I'm like, people weren't carrying around Geiger counters. What are you talking about? No. So we've got new information nowadays, but if you go back to the past for what we would have, you don't have people with trail cams, but you do have a record of people having major interference on their phone lines.
Right.
Every time they're trying to communicate about UFOs.
Yep. Or
which is really strange. Keel talks about it, and it's talked about far earlier than just Keel and Barker and Mosley and that whole deal there. People were talking about even earlier than that, and they always just assumed that the government was wiretapping them. But what if it's something else?
Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right. I mean, that was one of the things that we had talked to Jeff about a couple of times about Keel. He said that, Keel was very paranoid. Like he always, someone just pick a phone up, that kind of stuff. That was common with him. And we can look at that now, Tony, and be like, well, look, I mean, and that was one of our premises when we did the first, Mothman thing down there a couple of years ago. It was like, look, you're talking about radio interferences. You're talking about TV interferences. You're talking about electromagnetic interferences with this phenomena. It is the same thing. And even back then, we had no clue how right we were, by the way.
And this phenomena has always had electromagnetic interferences involved. Yeah. You see lots of stories that involve either a Bigfoot type creature or a UFO, and cars stop.
Yeah.
Car engines absolutely stop until the encounter is over, and then they restart. There's one in West Virginia, the Doc Priestley sighting, where he actually saw like a Bigfoot. His hair was raised up like it was some, like when you touch one of those things and electricity goes through you, I guess. And when his hair went back down, when his buddies came back in their vehicle and his hair went down, his engine restarted. You got more in the Rome, Ohio, 1981, a Bigfoot sighting where they're just trying to. They're driving down the road. They're looking for the Bigfoot that they have just tried to shoot at, and their car stops, just completely stops. They see a Bigfoot and a bright light, and then when all that passes over, they're able to start the car again. Now, that's weird, and it kind of reminds me of a lot of the reports, even from you guys, where people were talking about their batteries mysteriously draining, but then having battery later.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
battery drained or not? What happened there?
We had a comm unit that completely.
One of the first weird cases that I had to go back and look at after we started getting some weird information.
And like I said, those things are still in the past stories. There are precedents for all of this. And in fact, you guys talk about type A and type B. Keel was talking about unusuals type A and unusuals type B. And it's the same exact classification system. Things that leave a physical trace, like hair, footprints, vocalization. Well, that's not physical, but it's, it's from a physical point of thing. And things that have some sort of high strangeness attached to it. What I usually call paraconvergence. It's the idea that there's something that's, paranormal. People think of it as like supernatural, but the word paranormal actually just means beside the normal. It's something outside the normal. It's not what you usually encounter. And that could be something like, lots of coincidences, too many lined up to where we call them synchronicities of some sort. It could be a Bigfoot sighted with an orb, a radioactive footprint, things we're just not expecting to find.
Yeah, exactly.
Things you just typically shouldn't find.
Right. But when you look back through the historical records, now, granted, we can't look for radioactivity, but we can look for other things that we can see back in the original accounts that we've been experiencing this from the beginning.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not new.
No, it's not new. We're just now, I think just now we have the technology that's it's available. It doesn't cost a fortune anymore. It used to cost tons to have this kind of stuff.
Yeah, it used to cost an arm and a leg.
But now you can do it. And we see more and more people going out there and doing just this. And more we're seeing the same kind of data sets that are coming up. And all the skeptics can really say is, well, you don't know what you're doing. You're looking at it wrong. You're not reading it the right way. You need more of them. We're to the point now where we've got 3 different Geiger counters. There's no.
How many more do you want us to get?
We don't need any more at this point.
And to not expect a learning curve and to say, trust us, we're the experts, we'll handle it when they're not willing to even look into it.
Yeah.
It's just laughable.
Yeah.
It's also intellectually dishonest.
Yeah, a little intellectual dishonesty there. You're exactly right. Jen brings up, could maybe something been touching or moving the game cam / recorder and then knocked to mark where it is?
I mean, it could be, but we still have this weird electromagnetic fluctuation that's not going to cause.
Dark Wolf, unfortunately, no, we don't have this shirt or the rest of this shirt. However, I can totally send you an Amazon link. We just have to sync it up, man. We have to match one day. That's what we have to do.
There you go.
So I think I accidentally matched with you at Flatwoods, didn't I?
You did. It was magnificent.
Like, well, I was meant to wear this shirt. Okay.
Synchronicity.
LR says, "Hey, Ron or Joe, what bandwidth of your comms on, VHF or UHF? Could that be a factor of what could be causing the interference?" They are UHF mic or comms. The interference normally we play with when we turn them on, whatever equipment we're running, we set a baseline parameter on how close we can get to that equipment without setting it off. And then we normally operate the comms about 20 yards beyond that field.
Which you'll get to see that in a future episode. Demonstrated beautifully with the REM pod.
Yeah. And then
weird things still happen.
Here, this is a very good one. I believe it's so much like peeling an onion, albeit decades at a time.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's kind of what you're dealing with. So there's an interesting point that takes place at some point during that summer. You usually do these. You were going out and doing these little drive-bys where you were just filming. You'd hold a camera out and you'd drive through. Mm-hmm. Well, one day you saw something, and we ran it through, a lot of just not filters, but trying to slow it down because you're driving so fast. So I slowed it down, I backed it up, and back and forward and so forth. Well, I need to ride into Mothman Festival on my cube. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. So you saw this thing, and I've got a little bit of a clip of that. I also got a clip where we kind of pulled it back. I also noted it could be a parallax effect. It could be this. It could be that. the shape of this thing, whatever it is very interesting. And I can tell you that we didn't see a stump while we were out there.
Now, anybody who listens to Bigfoot and Beyond with Cliff and Bobo will recognize the time when they mentioned the very first dash cam blob-squatch. This is the video. You get to see it now.
Unfortunately, that's all we had. But it was enough to actually cause a conversation to be started and for people to kind of take it a little bit more seriously than just a, blob. There's symmetry there, and it's not a tree. It's not a leaf. It's not a limb. There's something.
And like you said, Ron, we went there and we looked. We tried to find this thing in the exact spot that it was recorded. There wasn't a large stump there.
No.
There wasn't a large broken tree there. Nothing that size and that collar was there at all.
And it looks like it's moving. The collar's different than the rest of the surroundings. There's a little bit of a spectrum difference as far as that goes. I don't know what that was. I know some people said, well, it could be a bear. Well, yeah, it could be. I mean, I'm not saying it's not a bear. Because we know that there's a bear there. We found that bear.
You get a footprint of a bear, you've got a bear.
We found more in the footprint.
I've got game cams with the bear on it.
Yeah, he's there. He's 100% legit.
You can, on the last frame, it looks like the back of a leg. Very last.
Yeah, it really
I mean,
does.
I'm not saying because I'm not there shaking its hand or saying hello to it, but I mean, I can tell you what I think it was.
Yeah. I mean,
two things that speak to your credibility is the fact that you mentioned the parallax effect, because people don't understand just how much movement you think you can see that's not actually going on with the parallax effect. And the fact, more importantly, the fact that you said there's not enough evidence. We don't know. I don't know what this was.
No, there isn't.
Here's food for thought. It's part of the data,
Yeah. And that's what we do. Obviously we just throw it on the table and it's like, look, now, if we get another piece of data in the future, maybe she gets something that looks exactly like that. Now we have this part already recorded. Right, exactly. It's documented.
If you didn't consider those two together, then there's no,
Yeah. So if you just throw that data away and then you get something like that later, you're back to square one. But if we kept that, which we did, and now she gets something that's similar to that, well, now we've got two of these things. Now we really got something to look at. So that's why you want to keep all that data, no matter how odd it may look, or, you may think it's not anything.
I just think other shows would have immediately went to, that's a Bigfoot. We've got a Bigfoot.
Oh, well, yeah, that's what they're paid to do. The LR says, I saw a story this week on US Today about a bear in West Virginia that only has 2 legs. Obviously, I'm not saying that's what you saw. It was just interesting. Yeah, and this bear, I've seen it with my own 2 eyes. I know where it lives. I have a friend who has this bear regularly show up on his game cams. And it is a birth defect. This thing has had 2 legs from the time it was born. It has learned how to be mobile and functional on just the 2 back legs. However, it can't stand all the way up because it's so trained its muscles to be able to walk that when it walks, like its head is here and its back end is back this way. And so it walks kind of like an old hunched over lady. And, obviously this bear is going to have a hard time. But the local hunters actually protect this guy, and they make sure that nobody comes in from the outside to harm it, and they do keep an eye out for this guy and make sure that it's got easy access to food because it otherwise thrives.
Yeah, when I saw that story come up, I was like, when I was investigating the Charles Mill Lake monster, which was 9 feet tall with just 2 legs and no arms. 2-legged bear was not on my radar as a possible explanation for that at all.
Right?
Not something I would have conceived of. I was like, okay, that's a weird one.
But now I have seen it happen too on another bear. There was another bear up and around the Elkins area that had that happen, but it was struck by a vehicle.
Yeah.
But this particular bear that made the news, it's made the news every year for the last 3 years. That particular bear, I know exactly where he's at, and he's a healthy bear. He doesn't cause too much trouble because he has difficulty, but
No.
otherwise does pretty well for himself.
Wow. Well, I guess there's a couple of other weird things that happened while we were up there.
Real
Right?
quick, Ron.
Go ahead.
Trackway walked away. Could you play that again for him, please?
Which one?
The video, with the
hang
possible
on.
the critter out in the woods,
Hang on. I'll have to.
or parallax effect, but definitely not a stump.
Yeah,
I
I'll
mean,
grab
it
back
could
up.
be a Sasquatch. We just don't know what it is yet.
Right.
Let me see. I gotta put it back up here.
Big black
We're only
monkey.
allowed so much space, so I gotta.
It's definitely a blob-squatch at this point.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that was its official title too, is official blob-squatch. First
Yeah, we gotta-
official dash cam blob-squatch.
Okay, it's coming up. Here you go. Well, it's circling, so hang on a sec.
Dark Wolf says, is it possible to attribute the Bigfoot and the complete dominance in nature as a result of mastering their native environment as well as dominant physical capabilities? It's a good thought as any, honestly, man. Like it's possible if this thing adapted to do exactly what it does over thousands and thousands and thousands of years, then yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would depend on what level of intelligence Bigfoot has.
Yeah, like you're kind of right there.
I mean, if it's got the intelligence of your average mountain gorilla, well,
Virgil Kane, welcome back.
it'll be an apex predator wherever it's at. If it's
right. Yeah, like you said, it does depend on the intelligence level. Which looking at it purely as a Bigfoot phenomena, then these things would have to be so intelligent that it would confound us.
And that goes back to the Native American traditions in the Pacific Northwest, where they talk about just a tribe that broke off and said, "No, we're going to stick with the ways of nature and not form civilizations and be one with nature." It's interesting that kind of has a sense of convergence with the idea of a Bigfoot that's intelligent and knows how to use its environment to hide that well.
Here is the clip. There you go.
That's at least something walking on two legs, from what I can see there. That's at least a bear.
Yeah.
I'm going to agree with you. So, the orbs. Back to those again. That's that's the best thing, right? Here is the clip, I believe, where you explain some of that, and we get to see one of your captures.
Whatever that is, like, oh my God. I don't know what that is. And I wasn't brave enough to try to stay and get photos. But this time I got a couple.
And there they were. Probably some of the better examples up to that point that we had seen of some of these red orange type orbs. What's interesting about these guys is that it looked more that there's a white, from a distance, but the camera brings it out more of a reddish color, which is very interesting.
When
and then
they would, oh,
go ahead.
When I would see it fly, it would almost be like, kind of like it would have a little bit of both colors in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly what it looks like. It looks like it's got like a color shift kind of thing going on with it. And we saw those again later on, and that it looked identical to this. You also notice that in those, there's that little bit of that square geometry, and that's not pixelization. We see that again later on with another orb incident in another part of the state completely, where even more weird stuff happens.
Spookfest said that they've seen ones just like that up in the Bridgewater Triangle area.
Oh yeah, I'm 100% sure. These things, I'm convinced they're everywhere. At this point, I am convinced that this is happening everywhere. There are just certain areas where it seems a little more concentrated at times for whatever
Do you
reason.
notice any sort of behavioral differences between ones of different color?
At this point,
And I ask
no.
because in the past there have been people who have noticed
Yep.
behavioral differences between
Mhm.
ones that are various colors.
Oh yeah,
I-
even Lou Elizondo just said that
Yeah.
basically in Imminent, as
Yeah,
far as that
that's right.
goes.
That's another
Yeah,
one I've read from. I was
yeah,
like,
that's
oh,
right. And we can say that, you know, the more purpley blue ones, we try to stay away from those. Just
yeah,
based,
those are bad. Purple
yeah.
people eaters. Might as well what you call them.
Well, and the reason for that may be actually scientific, which is more terrifying because it makes sense and brings this into a realm of reality rather than just science fiction and something people are like, oh, you're just saying, they're these colors, they make a difference. No, they make a difference because if it's what's happening, if that's color shift is what we think that could be, there's an enormous amount of radiation that's taking place. If that is happening, at least there could be an enormous amount of radiation taking
Yeah,
place
those are
between
the
that.
ones that
Purple.
cause harm.
Yeah,
That
those are the
have
ones that
known to
harm.
be causing harm anyway, and it's all radiation related. So as
Right.
far as I've read, and it's caused me to have to read deeper into the archives to see if I can find anything that matches. But like I
Now,
said, since nobody's like going around with a Geiger counter in the past, you really had to look for records of people who are hospitalized
Yes.
with or newspaper reports where they report something that looks like some sort of radiation
Mhm.
or burn or radiation sickness or something along those lines.
well, there's been orbs, these anomalous self-illuminating spheres of light. Ron, what was the name that you came up for those?
Self-illuminating, what was it? SEOP,
Yeah, SEOP, that's it.
self-illuminated anomalous phenomena.
My
Yes.
son,
And some of this stuff, it's being seen in various proximities. We've recorded it in various areas. Beth has seen it at long range, at close range, and it what I will refer to as a very intimate range, because Beth has seen these things come into the house. Beth, do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
yes, the house that I'm living in right now, it's my brother's house. And about 4 years ago, my cousin that lived here at the time, she showed me a video. She said, look at this. It's a white light that comes in through the window and then it goes back out. And I looked and I said, well, that's weird. That was before I started doing all this. Well, the other night when we were asleep in here, my son wakes me up and he said, Mom, look. And when I looked, I got the light of it, but not the whole thing. And like I turned my head and then I could see what it was. He said it come up out of the floor. It was just looked like somebody shining a flashlight, but it was just all around and it just came up and went through the bathroom. I just seen the tail end of it going out.
This doesn't. There are people who are like, oh yeah, right, yeah, blah blah blah. So, look, man, here's the fact. I've seen it now. And maybe before this, I would have been like, I really need to see that to believe it. Doesn't mean I didn't fully believe it, but when you really see it and you have to contemplate what in the world is that? How does this fit into my reality? You have to start thinking and you have to start seeing things on a whole different level. That's where those things like frequency shift and what's his name there? Help me, Steve, the transmogrification of energy comes into place because
Transmogrification.
you.
I actually like that word.
I love that word, and it
Yeah.
works because that's what's happening. You're literally talking about something with enough energy to literally change its matter, its form, from a light to an actual physical matter. That's beyond anything we can do.
It's what Paul Devereaux described as proto-entities, which I believe Steve's mentioned a couple of times. But what I find interesting about the idea of these orbs and even UFOs and creature sightings as proto entities. Because the idea is that it's just literally the transmogrification of energy from one form to another.
Mm-hmm.
So when you see Mothman fly into a UFO, yes, that was a sighting during that period. When you see a Bigfoot with an orb, when you see an occupant step outside of a spaceship, it's really just that matter transforming into something else and then separating itself, almost like it's cellular osmosis or something along those lines. Sorry, I'm getting the wrong word in mind here. But what I find really interesting about it is that it seems to be reactive.
Yeah.
With us.
Yes.
It's like it starts each one of these scenarios that, you'll have a moment of, you'll see something strange and you'll have a moment of paraconvergence where it's like, okay, that wasn't just a Bigfoot. That was a Bigfoot. And then I've also seen an orb, and maybe I've seen some poltergeist activity. And then more and more things come up. The more that you're open to, the more you start searching for it, the more it rewards you with more of itself, until it reaches a point that I call paracontagion, where there's just too many instances of paraconvergence, and they're not all even the same type. Like you'll have a zone of fear, Bigfoot sightings, orbs, UFOs, electrical disturbances. You're in a state of paracontagion. And the thing is they tend to ramp up, and the only thing that really seems to stop them, and I'll use the most vivid example of a paracontagion possible, which is the Mothman flap, is a sudden shift in attitude.
Mm-hmm.
When the Silver Bridge fell, no more sightings.
No one was thinking about Mothman.
It all just sort of fizzled out because people's attention was completely elsewhere.
And the sightings that did continue on after that, the news wasn't running them anymore. There was more important
running them anymore. Nobody cared as much. Mary Hyre had been one of the chief proponents of sharing these stories, and she was sharing a story that was much more important to her at that point than even any of the stuff that had been building up at this point.
And to the community. They really didn't want to hear anything about monster.
She said it was the story she wished she never had to cover.
Yeah, it's true. So you brought up some interesting points there that really set up the other thing that happened in this episode that just apparently just blew everyone's mind. We got the signal and we verified it, but let's talk a little bit, guys, about what didn't get recorded, because before it, we had a very interesting ITC session, a very impromptu ITC session, as I recall. I don't know why I thought, but I'm like, well, you got our attention. And I just kind of started talking to the air, and we started seeing reactions. And every time I said something, we would get a reaction. Then Beth got some weird feelings about the same time, I think.
Yep.
And we were just ecstatic because we were getting, 1.6, like, negative 80 decibels, really high frequency, really high wavelengths, and pretty concentrated. And I went back to stop the recording, and it wasn't recorded. And
the recording never happened. We did an entire dialogue piece that just don't exist anymore. It was just for the trees.
I told
it was
Joe
amazing.
Ron, I told Joe and Ron, I said, I feel sick.
You did.
Stomach. I don't feel right.
Yep. That's right. You did get a headache, and I got a headache leaving that day too.
Yeah, and I had a headache the whole day, and lived it the next day.
Yep, that's right. It was interesting because what happened next shouldn't have happened, yet it did. This is probably the nail in the coffin for Joe, was this day, because he was holding out trying to say, there's a logical explanation for this. And I'm thinking, well, there could be. And in the back of my head, I'm thinking, aliens. No. But what happened was he's just disappointed. You can see it on his face when I say, well, we got to record this again because we've got to document what just happened, Joe. So we got to tell
Because
everything.
what we had said, like that first audio snip was gold. Like it was one of the best
It would have
recording
broke the
segments
internet.
that we had made at the time.
It would have broke the internet.
Yeah.
It would have broke.
It was good.
I mean, what we saw was amazing. If you're here, then okay, you got our attention. I think that's how it went. And let's see what you got, or something like that. And all of a sudden, that thing just straight up. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And then she was like, oh, and then she's like, I don't feel good or something. I can't remember. The whole thing was just, it was gold. And I'm like, okay, so go back to, save it, and it's gone. It didn't happen. Never happened. But I hit the record before. It just didn't.
Just
record.
gone forever.
Something did not want us to record that. So what's
our
more
greatest
funny,
probably 3 or 4 minutes of dialogue was for the trees.
Yeah. And what was really funny about it was I'm like, well, we got to record what just happened. We got to tell everyone about the failure that just happened, because we document everything. If it's a failure, it's a failure. I don't care. We got to tell you what happened. So we did.
And here's the thing, it's hard to get me to shut up. So they had like that one moment of silence when I was finally quiet, trying to talk to them through this whole thing. And they finally got their words in without me saying a word, which is very, very unlikely.
It was very rare. But
yeah, that was more rare than Sasquatch, me shutting up.
It did happen.
You've gotten a lot better.
Yeah, she's gotten better.
I'm trying.
But we were going through the motions, basically telling exactly what happened. Okay. And then at one point I'm like, well, what were we doing? Wait, let's just see if this works, because it worked before. It heard its name, it heard itself, and it responded. So what were we doing when that happened? Well, we were talking about the radiation, and we were talking about this, and okay, let's do that again. And so we did. 0. And you can barely see it, but that little spike right there at the bottom was about a negative 69, 1.660.
I was so sure you were going to say 1.666.
No.
But,
Demons.
I just had to throw that in there.
So you could do that, right?
But that worked out the good on it, because that was just proof right there after y'all talked about it that it happened again.
And you can hear her in the background. She's do it again. It's like,
yeah, that mouth.
And so we did, but we went on up the road and we did it at another place. And when we did it there, which is really weird, because we're closer to this massive high tension power line at this point, by the way, just to let you know, there's nothing registering. There's nothing on the EM that's registering. Tri-field's not showing up anything. Nothing's showing up on the spectrum analyzer. And yet we're closer to that. And as soon as she starts telling this story, I think she starts talking about this little white thing or something, if I remember correctly. And when she said,
thing with the little white
yeah,
thing.
That's it. Mm-hmm. When you said that, boom, it goes straight to 1.6. And Joe was like, his orders at that point were call it out if it happens. Well, it happened. It happened just right almost on cue. And it was at that point. Now we've seen this 3 times. Okay, guys. First time I can say, yeah, maybe just a oopsie. Some weird thing happened. 2, I think the demons just took Tony completely out. 2 times, that's a little weird. That's a little weird. But 3 times, it's like, how many more times do you want us to do this before you get it through your thick skull that there's something happening right here? And at that point, we had to go and try to figure out, well, what does that mean? Now, what you don't see is we were also filming at other locations. We were doing other experiments on other sites, research and whatnot, right? And we had got that 1.6 at other places, including one which was just an investigation at a library. Now, there's no reason during an EVP session. So we're like, this is happening too often. And Joe made it his mission to debunk the 1.6, which I think he did a great job. And that actually helped us to set up some protocols, which
it did.
Without the protocols, I'm with him. There's no way this can't be. No, this doesn't work. This can't be. It's not that prevalent. And because you'll get these little spikes every now and again. Well, I don't think those are anything. Those are like you described those perfectly in this episode. If you haven't watched it, please do go watch it, because he's explaining a way that how many these satellites actually broadcast on that 1.6, and we do pick those up. We can pick that up.
And to be clear, we've there's been several months that's passed since some of this stuff was completed, and we've found that we've been able to narrow down even more and tighten some of this stuff down, because even though these satellites are receiving or sending some of these signals, there's a certain cluster of them that only uplink, meaning we're on the wrong side of the cone to collect a signal anyway. For example, if this were the antenna for the spectrum analyzer, for us to be catching that signal that's an uplink, this device would have to be sending the uplink. I would have to have my antenna about here. Out here wouldn't have it. Over here wouldn't have it. Down here wouldn't get it. But over here, maybe. Up into here, definitely. And there we are. We're back in. So it did help us set up a very good protocol, though, like Ron was saying.
Yeah, there's just, and it's not just us. There's a lot of other researchers out there who are, we've got it. It's like, you do have it. I agree. How stable is it? So now it comes down to us looking for stability of the 1.6. It's not just spike. There it is, and it's gone. That could be anything. But is this happening when we are conducting an EVP session and only? Sky, okay, Sky Dolly, please. Absolutely. May the boss be with you always. So anyway, it's showing up during these ITC sessions, not during baseline, but during the actual sessions. Now, how do we explain that, Joe?
Well, when the only way to explain that, there's two possible scenarios. Okay. A, we're being listened to, which the folks over at Skinwalker Ranch, I believe, came to that conclusion first.
That's right.
That there's a possibility that they're being eavesdropped on.
Mm-hmm.
Two, the other option is that something starts paying attention, or is trying to get our attention.
Well,
that brings up an interesting point, because you had the experiment with Adam, which, that's impressive that he can go into a meditative state that quickly.
Yeah.
Just be honest. But it brings up, the interference that has been noted, like on the trail cam over phone lines that I mentioned historically, is that directed interference, or is it indirect interference? Just like they show up and therefore things get disrupted. They're not intending to disrupt anything. They're just.
Go ahead, Tony.
I do believe Adam and Angie are in some sort of competition.
You guys need to slow
Sky
down.
Daddy and Sky Dolly, and I have to weigh in on the side of Sky Dolly. I won't lie.
This is great.
I'm married to Angie, and that's not the only reason, but it's the most important one. But the other thing is are they actually trying to? Are they actually trying to communicate, or are they just drawn to the fact that we're concentrating on them? Is that because you have to wonder, is it the people concentrated together that's creating it, or are you in an area that is conducive to that to begin with? It kind of like that the area that Beth's involved in might be kind of we call them window areas. And the problem with window areas is we don't know if they open and shut on their own at certain times, then we notice it, or if we have the power to kind of affect the shutter, the door opening and closing, that sort of thing. It requires more experimentation to find that out.
Right.
And I'm going to propose a third option.
Dial on the
Okay.
Stargate. Gotcha.
They're just there.
They're just
And
there.
they don't shut. That there are certain places that are wide open channels to strange and unusual happenings.
Well,
That could be geospatial.
I would say that
could
that's,
be,
potentially the case, but I know that in a lot of cases, like, all right, for example, Braxton County, it's ridiculous. Wampus cats, Bigfoot, Flatwoods monster, all sorts of, and this doesn't even count the ghost stuff. There's all sorts of strange stuff, lights in the sky, orbs, stuff that's been seen there. Same thing with Point Pleasant. You got orbs running up and down hills. You've got a potential curse. You got the Mothman. You've got strange
the transmogrification of energy.
Yeah, you've got all the strange stuff in those window areas, but it's not always on. For some reason, it's sometimes it's like, okay, well, not as much is going on now. Is that because we're not paying as much attention? And it's always going on, or is it because we're not paying attention and it's not interesting enough for them to play anymore? They don't have an audience.
Yeah,
that's a good.
that's a great
hypothesis, Tony.
Yeah, and you know what you guys are really just dancing around here, though, is that it isn't it. It is an intelligent it at that point. There's some kind of intelligence behind it, whether it be the government listening to us or whether it be something else listening to hear its name.
The government listening to us, the level of intelligence is different.
Disputable. Yes. I agree.
Yes.
But the point being is that there is, or there seems to be, an intelligence that is at work here. And I think that that's where we are with this at this point. The window area, as you said, definitely, it's definitely something we'll be looking into coming very shortly, actually. So, yeah, can't say much more about that, but I can say that,
oh boy,
we can say that, yeah, you're probably right on multiple parts of that. I mean, I probably have some footage to show you that how right you are, is what I'm trying to say at this point.
Always the tone of surprise when I'm right. Always the tone of surprise.
Trackway says, what if I told you I recorded a slide whistle whoop that was accompanied by the sound of an old elevator door being opened?
I would not be shocked at all. How about you, Tony?
No, I mean, there's been lots of strange noises that have occurred that are like, okay, that's not indigenous to our particular area. That should not be happening. What is that? And that goes down through, just through all of written recorded history.
Yep.
Kind of ridiculous, in fact. Strange sounds are one of the things that are most readily dismissed by skeptics, but also the most shallowly examined.
Agreed.
It's always just the assumption that you misheard something. But there's a wealth of data to dive into there if anybody ever wants to get into it. It's just like that fellow that decided, I'm just going to concentrate on the Bigfoot vocalizations. He opened up a whole wealth of information by deciding to make that his focus.
Yeah.
That's the kind of focus you want to do. Do that, please. That will only help us.
Yeah, Monongahela put a ton of work into that, and it's awesome that he's a native West Virginian as well. Now, Spookfest here, I haven't been missing your comments. I've been seeing them all. However, this one I want to throw up there. As long as you are cool with it, we will air that on next week's episode, because next week is the next installment of In Focus, where we're going to be reviewing other people's data. This show, probably not the best for that specific one, just because we're referencing all the stuff from Paranormal Horizons in this episode. But next week, you, sir, will, as long as you're cool with it and you give us approval, we will run that bad boy.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And Spookfest, thanks for the approval. We will
Okay.
we'll
That'll be
snag
done.
that next week, and we'll definitely run you up there and get as many people as we can input as well as your own.
Yeah, absolutely. So, let's talk about where we
Our
left.
Lord and Savior.
Oh no! Don't encourage him, Octo.
Oh man.
Let's talk a little bit about where this is going, because we led off with quite an ending on this episode, as you recall. We are basically going to see in the next episode the actual investigation, which is a massive investigation, by the way.
Yes.
And
And also,
things go
I'll
weird.
leave that part out. You're going to see
Yeah.
something really freaking funny.
There's a few weird things.
You're going to get witness Ron and I'll be like, why?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't understand, and you will not understand as well. But let's look at just a little bit of that. What happens?
Is this a sneak peek?
That better be them. That's got to be them. If that's not them, what is that? Okay. But if they said they was nowhere near.
Yeah, we were nowhere near there. So, spoiler alert, that's not us. Another spoiler alert, that is an area where we will walk through literally minutes later.
Yeah.
Now that,
but way closer to the camera than where that was at.
Yeah, way closer to the camera than that. But still, that is the area near that pond region that goes up, toward that spring area there. So does that give you an idea where we're at, Tony?
Yeah, it's very interesting, and I kind of start wondering about things like, are there sodium deposits underneath of you, aquifers, that sort of thing? Because a lot of this, there was a theory that was
Oh yeah,
Paul Devereaux's theory is that a lot of this stuff was enabled or centered around these sort of geographical areas where there were things that enabled that to happen underground.
Oh yeah,
that
Now, our
they
water-
formed sort of a battery.
Our water, if this helps, not sulfur. Our spring water does not have sulfur in it. It's all
Yeah, that
natural.
spring water is the cleanest, freshest water you're going to find.
Yeah.
There's very minimal mineral contaminants.
I
in
mean,
that area.
we have to look at that, but
Yeah.
I can also give you something else, just a really quick exclusive here, because why not? It's just us, right? And for everybody who gets to see this right now, you get to see this right now. What I'm going to do is you're going to get to see it live right now, but I am going to go back and scrub this just to let you know. Okay. So you're the lucky one.
Get out your phones and record it.
Yeah, exactly. So let me grab this. And I'm just going to play a little bit of this. Because we'll actually talk more about this on Beyond the Horizon next time. But this is one of the other orbs that we encountered up there. And this one wasn't visible. And Beth was filming this in infrared binoculars. She thought it was us, unfortunately, and quit recording. But that's just, it's okay.
It happens.
It happens. Thankfully, we got it. That's all that matters. And the data set, the data itself is, there's enough there. There's enough valuable data here that for us anyway. She did a good job. because what we're seeing is something that's not visible. You couldn't see this thing, right, Beth? Is that what I understood? Like you and Maria both were there.
I could only see it. I think it was. I could only see it through it.
Mm-hmm.
The one
All right.
I think that was if I'm thinking about the right place.
Yeah, this is the bright white one. It's loading up right now. I can't understand why. I can't understand why it seems these things want you to notice them, but only briefly. That's part of the puzzle, Terry. That's part of the puzzle. And it's not even that. It's that they want you to. It almost seems like they want you to ask the question, and then they change the very question. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, that's not what you should ask. You should ask this instead. Oh, you asked that? Oh, well, what I meant is you should ask this. That's how this thing works. And it's
Or you want this, let me give you that.
Yeah. You're looking for that? Nah, look here. Look at those lights. There's some lights to chase. Yeah, it's different. So here they are, guys. This is your exclusive. This is for everybody who hung around here with us. Bless you all. And here's your sneak peek. Nah. So I got to go back and I'll scrub that. But yeah.
Wasn't born to be a camera person, tell you that.
That's okay. You held that pretty good, actually. But that's one of the things that happened out there that we still can't explain to this day. And I don't know what it was. I don't know what that was. We've had people look at it at this point. They don't know what it was. None of us knows what it was. What we do know is that's not a bug. That's not a spider in front of the IR reflector bouncing light back. It's not a drone.
Gas.
It's what?
Swamp gas.
Yeah. Swamp gas. It could be swamp gas. Poachers.
Poachers or night hunters.
Negative.
Not while we were there.
Negative.
They were further in front, way further in front.
Mm-hmm.
We were way in the back. There was nobody in between.
Exactly. And what's interesting about this, Pat, is we're like here, right? Or we're actually up here. They are back here. Okay, here we go. Okay, they're back here. It's backwards. And me and Joe are way over here somewhere, about in this region. And that light thing is about right in this region over here.
Yeah.
So it's right in between us is where it's at. It occurs right between us. It's very strange. I don't know.
So Matt Carter asked, do we have a gear list somewhere that you use? We haven't posted it online, but we do show it at shows. So let's put that on the website.
Yeah, we'll do that. After this.
After Mothman. We'll
after Mothman. Yeah, we got some good.
Because we already have it. It's part of the Mothman presentation. So we'll just transmogrify it over to the website.
Transmogrify it. That's what we'll do.
I broke my IR camera.
I mean, the irony is you just brought up something
more that can't be seen. That's very possible.
Probably. Go ahead.
That's the thing. I mean, we didn't have the gadgets, the technology to determine that in the past.
That's right.
You know, I was discussing this with Angie today because I ran across an account from the 1600s on Will o' the Wisps, and you know, this guy was really interested in it, and he started studying. And he just happened to see one, but he starts describing how they're undulating along, and you know, kind of sometimes swinging back and forth and zipping across the sky. And I'm listening to a very skeptical professor say, "Well, you know, we thought it might be, you know, glowworms at one point. We thought it might be fireflies." Or, you know, they just named off all sorts of things. And then they get, but we know now it's probably swamp gas. And I'm like, man, swamp gas don't move.
Yeah.
Now, when we go into
pretty in one spot, but it doesn't really move like this guy was describing. It doesn't go along a path. It doesn't zip off. It doesn't do any of that sort of thing at all.
When we go into the analysis of that part of the video on the analysis portion of the next episode, we actually show on a map where we were. You'll be able to see a layout.
Yeah, you'll get to see the whole thing. Because this one really, we even match up audio from different recorders that are going on at the same time to see could that have been us or blah blah blah, no, it wasn't us. We don't know what that was. And it was probably one of the more, I don't know if I'd say uncomfortable, but it was definitely one of the more eye-opening things because this thing is invisible, guys.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
if it
completely
was
invisible.
invisible, none of the options I just threw out there would have been a candidate
Right.
anyway, because they're all
Right.
visible light.
Exactly.
And that could cause that could be some of the feelings that people get, and you're not seeing it. So that could be another factor in that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
That makes it instead of a will o' the wisp, that makes it a heebie-jeebie.
It's definitely a heebie-jeebie. There's no question there, man. It's something. I don't know what that was. And I know you get tired of hearing that, but I am not going to guess other than to say that
I mean, honestly, that's what sets us apart from the rest of the community.
that's a self-illuminated anomalous phenomena at
Well, it
the
sets
heart
you
of
apart
itself.
from both the shows that are like that's a Bigfoot, and the other ones that are like, oh no, that was definitely this, and this. It's like the willingness to say I don't know when you don't have enough data is more intellectually honest than any other position. So,
Yeah.
that's all.
Danny asks, how far back in time in history have orbs or bright lights been possibly seen?
Oh yeah.
Forever.
Let's see. If you're talking lights in the sky or you're talking orbs, because they're two different sections. But lights in the sky, we've definitely seen like far back enough to be recorded on things like Stella, the Egyptians, and the Greco-Roman art has it. Over Mesoamerica has it. Everybody's recorded something, and once we started writing things down and the Romantic languages, we started recording those things as well. Far back. Orbs have the first time that they're in print is, I believe, the 1400s. In the form of a poem, if I remember right. But it is describing something that was known locally and commonly. So,
Yeah.
Matt Carter says, I need to get the camera and UFO DAP
UFO
rig
DAP.
that Tom
Yep.
King suggested. That you're 100% right. That rig is
Yeah.
not cheap, but it is awesome.
Yep. There you go.
Different times was there ever any record of it in biblical, like in the Bible?
in the Bible,
That you all could remember.
It depends on your interpretation of certain passages, but not.
I mean,
as
we could call the burning bush a SEOP, honestly. I mean, let's be real here.
I've described the burning bush as a possible orb before.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we don't know really what it was made of. It did, in fact, look like a bush that shouldn't be burning, but there was some kind of fire around it. So, but again, that's an imposing an interpretation on it that may not be what it intended to say.
Yeah.
So you can find spaces for it, but the Bible doesn't comment on everything. It never commented on microbes once. And microbes are very, very important to us, as it turns out. People get sick, and there's gut flora in your body that's actually a part of your whole process to keep you healthy. But it didn't mention things like nebula, and not really planets as such. So the Bible doesn't really mention everything, but it never claimed to be an encyclopedia galactica containing everything that you'll ever run into ever.
That's true.
Or a book to try to describe our relationship with our Creator.
That's a good answer, honestly.
Sorry, we got two preachers on the chat. You want to chime in there, Joe?
No, I mean, I agree with a lot of what you were saying there. You have different things like heavenly bodies mentioned, and you've got different things like, an angel of light. We don't know exactly that angel of light was never drawn out or given any kind of a descriptor other than just an angel of light.
Yeah.
And an angel back then, like it wasn't they're not actually talking about a seraphim. because that angel of light was not seraphim of light, or I'm not going to use the other language here because I don't want to confuse people, and I don't want people to go off here saying that like I'm saying stuff positively about Lucifer, but the
That's a
being,
wise decision.
yeah, right. These beings of light, the angel of light, literally the literal translation there is a heavenly being or a spiritual being of light. And I don't know how, like, there's only so many ways you can draw that it would make sense to be even referenced in that kind of a terminology, even in that era.
And there's only so many descriptions of angels, different types of angels in the Bible to begin with.
Yeah.
And they refer to specific types of angels. So we don't know how many types of angels there might even be. It never catalogs this, that there's 15 types of angels and this is what they look like. That's nowhere in the Bible.
Nope. Nope.
So you kind of get glimpses.
It's not even in the apocryphal texts or anything else like that. It was there were extra biblical texts that people
Well, but even in the Bible, like you have the 4 living creatures around the throne of God, and they're described in from the writer's point of view. I don't know exactly what that looks like, even with the description of 4 separate faces. You know, is that symbolic, or was he actually describing something like, "Oh my gosh, that's terrifying"? You know,
right? Was this some kind of creature?
Maybe there's a reason angels say "fear not."
Well, yeah, exactly. Do not be afraid. Fear not.
Okay, this is going to be a shock, even if I show you a little bit of this. Don't be afraid.
Isn't it?
Right.
Is it what we've run into at this point? Not that? Is this
well,
not?
I mean, that's the thing. You know, people were like, "Oh, well, you know," you were saying, well, maybe they're like, "Oh, you're asking this," and they said, "No, I want to show you this over here." Maybe it's just more that they're trying to show you that there's a whole lot more to this than you think there is.
Think outside.
You think you have the answer. Like, for example, you're a paranormal investigator and you think it's ghosts. I was like, "Oh, wait, hold on. Let's go into a UFO over here. Oh, I'm a ufologist and I think it's UFOs. Oh, there's a Bigfoot sighting over here now suddenly. You know, oh, a Bigfoot, yeah, no problem. Well, there's some orbs attached to your Bigfoot, and I'm going to have a poltergeist follow you home. That'll be fun, too. By the way, any poltergeist activity, Beth?
Yeah. Yeah, okay. There's a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, she's got the whole gamut out there.
Any hitchhikers for you 2 investigators?
What's that?
I said, any hitchhikers for you 2 investigators?
Just Joe's ghost cat.
Just my ghost cats. It's really
ghost possum. Let's.
The ghost possum didn't follow me home. Unfortunately, I tried to get it to follow me home.
He tried to catch that. Remember?
Yeah, I tried to catch that thing.
I'm sure you did.
But my ghost cats. The ghost cats predated the ghost possum. But
no,
the
it's
ghost
true.
Cats are always here, man.
No, in all seriously. So nothing. You haven't had the hitchhiker effect, etc.
No. I've never really experienced that. I have seen things here, but it's never been. I can't say that it happened after an investigation.
But there
that
are
may have been something completely different. Mm-hmm.
But you have to have some sort of controls if you're going to like try to figure out what it is. So some sort of like you set down like protocol, so you have kind of rules and steps for this is how we're going to go about it. You get baselines. That's really what I mean by controls in this case. But if you don't have a procedure and you don't have some sort of baseline controls, then you're really just shooting in the dark anyway. I mean, you might be anyhow.
I've had a
there it is.
black
You already got her
around the corner at me from my kitchen to the living room. I've had strange voices yell at me from and thinking it was somebody else and nobody there. Just a lot of weird stuff. Something was on top of my mom seen it when she was young, something crawling weird on top of a building. And then
I got something crawling weird right here.
It was a discount. You're only supposed to play it halfway.
He's referring to Adam as a discount cult leader.
I like it both ways. Are there burial mounds in your area, Beth? Mounds I haven't seen, but I have definitely no doubt that the area was.
You're in an area where they wouldn't have been removed as many down there, if I think I'm right.
According to the atlas that I have of all the historically documented mounds, even the ones that were destroyed and forgotten,
Right.
there weren't any that far south into our state. But
No, because they kept the ones along the river for that area. And yeah.
The Cherokee were in that area though.
Right.
But you're talking thousands of years after the mound builders.
Right.
But the Cherokee were definitely there, and there's been remnant of them found there.
They found places up in the mountains with rocks laid across it, humps with rocks all across it and stuff. So you never know. Found arrowheads and all kind of stuff.
Octo, good job. You gotta speak the reptile language sometimes. Just how
That's
it
right.
I couldn't speak. Let's see. Captured something over. Yes, she did. She captured a weird thing that was over the grave.
Yeah.
And it's there and then it's not. And again, I think I addressed that as well. Could be something, could be just a spider web being caught by the hour. I don't know, but there was something there. I mean, she didn't fake it. Let's put it that way. So I don't know what it was.
I remember telling him when I first got started, I said, I'm going to try to get as much as I can. I don't know what we'll get, but we're going to try to get something, figure this out, but never figured it out and not come close to knowing what it is yet.
I don't know that we will.
Go ahead.
Good I'd ask, are there caves in Wineberry? Not in the immediate research area, but Beth, there are some caves a couple miles away, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All of the caves that would be in Beth's area would, unfortunately, if they were there would be open voids full of water.
Yeah, that place is full of water. That's drinking water ever up there. That's where my family got their drinking water for generations.
You're lucky you don't have a bunch of sulfur in it. My grandma's spring was definitely, her well water had plenty of sulfur.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was not good. It was why do we have to drink this, Mom? Bad. It was that bad,
That reminded me, I got out of the car today and smelled sulfur and started saying a prayer just to be safe.
Yeah.
Did not look like spider web. Nope, didn't. It definitely didn't.
Except you see spider webs on the
question
TV
about
all the time, CCTV.
Sorry.
And then she also said, must have a lot of pine trees up that way. There are some massive old growth hillocks up that way.
Go ahead, Tony. What are you saying?
I always have had a question. I don't necessarily have an answer in this case. But I've always had a question about orbs that are seen over grave sites, battlefields, Native American grave sites, that sort of thing. Because I've always wondered, is there some sort of conjunction between what we usually consider paranormal and kind of orbs are on that fine line, between what we consider the paranormal ghost hunting thing and the UFO phenomenon.
Well, if it's
kind of like, why do they tend to show up in those areas where there's like mass death?
Well, if your soul goes somewhere and the energy is supposed to go somewhere, I mean, wouldn't you think maybe that could possibly contribute? Where's the energy going to go? That's the way I think of it. I mean,
I thought they went into Ouija boards. I had no idea.
No.
That's why I keep ordering pizzas from my Ouija board. If you come over my house, we're going to have a charcuterie board. It will have a planchette. And no, I'm joking. But actually, and that's another question all to itself. I mean, where does the soul go after?
Yeah.
And really, I think the way you answer that, a lot of it depends on your worldview.
That's true. See, I don't have any answers for anything that I thought I did in the past, because everything that I thought I had answers for, it just I have more questions now than anything. You would think that by the end of everything that we would know something, but it's just different. It's different now.
Well,
That's
what
all.
is the phrase? The more I learn how much more I have to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
The more I learn, the more
books I write, the dumber I get. You know,
mm-hmm.
It's like, well, there's
Anita
a lot
said
more
she
I
has
don't know now.
a family friend has a family graveyard near her place where a fireball appears over one grave and rolls all the way down a hill.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that sounds familiar, don't it?
Right. I brought up the orb that went up, and it was known to go up and down a certain hill in Point Pleasant. And it was associated, people believe that it was the ghost of Elenipsico, the son of Chief
That's
Cornstalk,
right.
who also died with Cornstalk. And the hill that it was associated with is the hill that it was known that his wife had thrown herself from upon hearing the news that Cornstalk, Elenipsico, Red Hawk, and the other Native American had been massacred at Fort Randolph. So it's interesting that's how the locals associate. It's in all the old newspapers.
Mm-hmm,
That is Elenipsico's ghost. But they noted that there was an orb and it ran up and down the hill.
Don't that sound like the burning wheel, guys?
Yeah, that burning wheel that your grandpa saw.
Yes, that's what that reminded me of.
Yep. So these things definitely seem to have a relation. That's the whole thing. And again, we've said it multiple times. It's not new. None of this is new. We're literally just, stumbling over top of things that people have seen for thousands of years. And we just have some new tools, I guess, that allow us to take pictures of it, and just before we take pictures of it, we don't even know what we're taking pictures of. You've heard us say it multiple times. It could just be the wave. We're not seeing the boat that's making the wave. We're just seeing the wave itself. And I think that that's where we are with a lot of this stuff. It's still valuable.
Then you think of places like I mentioned to the Low Gap ghost. Some people have seen like a sort of a lantern carrying ghost. Some people have seen like a supernatural dog. Some people have seen like orbs flying down the hill. This has historically all happened around that Low Gap Pass where, it was associated with somebody's murder or death or whatever. And it's like, are they seeing different things because it's, the transmogrification of energy, or are they seeing different things because their brain is trying to make sense of it from their own perspective? And this is the best fit that their brain that, because it's got to figure things out, even subconsciously.
Transmogrification.
This competition.
Ghost horses.
Wow.
My family's always heard ghost horses that walk up and down the creek. And I could go on and on for hours. 10 books. We could write 10 books on the things that this place holds.
There's no question. There's no question. And, we've actually had people ask, well, where is it? How do we get to it? All this. Like, look, this is an active research area.
Right.
This is a place that is, I honest to goodness think that it's an active research area that's probably going to be one for a very long time. But it's also your property, Beth. That's another thing that people have to understand. That's who controls it. We don't control it. She controls it. So, But the point is, it is an active research area, and I don't know how to make that any more clear. You don't want to. There's some stuff there you don't want to play with. That's what I'm trying to get at. No. There's some. It's not a kid's game. That place. It sounds like it's fun, but it's not a place that I would be going in there unless I knew what I was doing. I don't know that I would be going in there. You're going to expose yourself to some stuff. If you do go in, make sure you got the right tools, and by that I mean make sure you got a good Geiger counter. I would run an EMF meter to make sure you're not being exposed to high levels of EM radiation as well as just, ionizing radiation as well. And watch for the friggin' bears because
I was
they're
going to
there.
say, isn't there also a bear there?
Bears.
Yeah, he got his head stuck in
come
a
on,
bag
people.
1 year in my yard.
That reminds me, don't go chasing Bigfoot either.
Yeah.
You can
Well,
turn
this
around
bear,
and
at
go,
this
"Oh, it's a
point,
bear."
I didn't know what he was. He had a bag on his head, and I went out there screaming at it because I thought it was something else and run right up on a bear.
Oh, no.
Orbs and bears. I like to put myself
That
in
sounds
danger.
like you, Beth.
Huh?
That is the most Beth thing I've heard all night.
Yep.
That's true. That's true. I agree. Hey, there's one, which is exactly what we said multiple times. There's an outside source that seems to be possibly creating the perceptions of what we are seeing and experiencing at times. Pretty much.
It is an absolutely wild experience to be involved with this stuff, Beth. It has been an absolute roller coaster having you join the team and be a part of all of this. Tony, I'm sure that we're going to drag you out on an adventure sooner or later.
Oh, why would you want to do that?
Hey man, it's fun. It's a good time even when nothing is happening. But with some of the equipment that we've got, we're starting to see that whether you believe it or not, or whether you might be a reverse polarization, so to speak, for the phenomena that we just weren't measuring right.
Maybe. We'll see. I welcome any sort of investigation, though.
I'd love to have another investigation. I love it. I hate going up there. I'm always up there roaming around that holler by myself, and sometimes it gets eerie.
Well, all I can tell you is that if if we manage to get up that way again with an investigative agenda, because we've got a lot of other places right now, but and I don't doubt if that place always seems to call you back, but we're going to bring back some really big stuff, and if everything goes the way it should, and we're going to see what happens up there, because I do think that is one of your window areas. I think we're right about that. Now, how do you turn it on? How do you turn it on? How do you activate the Stargate?
That's half the question. Because if things get too bad, how do you turn it off?
Well, I've already thought about that too. We're not gonna. I've actually seen a couple of guys do that on one of the Skinwalker
Jeff
shows.
Goldblum, where it's like you never thought about whether you should.
They literally did that on. Was it Beyond Skinwalker Ranch? I think it was, right?
Yeah.
You know what it was? Yeah.
Yep.
And they believed that they turned it on and they didn't have a plan to turn it off. Right. We are looking at this in the fact of, if it can be turned on, then it can be turned off. But don't turn the dang thing on unless you have a plan in the first place.
Yeah.
I don't have a plan to open the fourth gateway to Gozer. Okay. We're not going to do that. It's not going to happen. We're not going to
allegedly
do that. Allegedly.
Unless we had one of those, what are they called? Unless we had the Ghostbuster guns.
Right.
Yeah.
So unless we have a way to seal it.
He stayed. Right. Danny went down there and stayed. He had a good night down in there.
Yeah, don't open it up, because he's like, it'll be like you guys going like, run, Scoob, and poor Beth will just, good luck, Beth.
Yep. Beth chases stuff that she's not supposed to. I get right in the middle of stuff I'm not supposed to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think.
And I try not to.
She's never tell the tale.
It's like one foot just starts going, and I can't get the other foot to listen to the one from behind.
Well, if you see any purple orbs, don't keep that to yourself. And run.
And run. Yes.
Yeah.
Basically, that's what it comes
Matt
down
Carter
to.
says you don't want to be the key master.
No, we're not.
Actually, the blue went through my window at one point.
Blue's close to purple. I would not play with that. So, yeah. Anything in that upper bandwidth, yeah, I don't know about that. I don't think I'd play with that. All right, guys. I think that's about all we're going to run tonight. Joe, remind these nice, wonderful, incredible people where to find us this weekend if they don't already know, and I don't know how they don't.
The easiest way to find us this weekend is going to be attending the Mothman Festival. You guys come on down, come find us. We're directly across the street from Rio Bravo 2, home of the Mothman burrito. And you're going to be able to find us there, as well as our companions are going to show up. They're going to be there for your viewing and entertainment pleasure. Come down, take photographs with them, and enjoy them while their visit lasts. And hopefully you'll be able to remember it. So make sure you bring your camera. That way, if your memory is replaced later, you can at least recall based off the photographs. So
that's right.
Remember, we are right here. This is where we are located. We're going to have 2 spaces at the Mothman Festival. Come down, hang out with us. It's going to be a great time.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. You know, Zorp and Cargon going to be there, and get your pictures taken. Like I said, bring your beach beachwear there and fit right in with the photo. Make yourself a customized end of summer photo that you just never going to forget. And
there's also some showing off some merch here. Bam, right there.
That's right.
Yeah.
There's going to be the reveal of a full-size poster that Ron has created. And this has been a project years in the making as well, to keep it as accurate as possible to the area. There's also some Easter eggs hidden along the way. You definitely want to come down to the booth, get one of those, as well as, while supplies last, the new Mothman figure launch. It is going to be this Saturday. Great little figure. I enjoy it. Again, I was inspired to create this guy after we met the legendary Roger Scarberry there in Point Pleasant by complete and total accident. I came home and started working on this guy, and he is finished in time for Mothman Festival, as well as several of his pals. So come down and get you one of these while supplies last. They always go fast, so you definitely want to get there the first day. Make sure you get down there. If you want one of those posters, you're going to want to get there early too. We do have a bunch of posters, but if you are for sure wanting one of these for your collection to commemorate the Point Pleasant Mothman 1966 invasion of sightings that occurred, this will be quintessential to your collection.
It would be awesome. And if I were you, I would actually go and get Jeff to sign it as well while you're in town, for real. He'll be around.
Yep, he'll be around. You can catch him. Then after that, we get to breathe
for a little bit, not a lot,
for a minute. And then we'll be able to catch us at Mysticon, and then we're going to be at the Powwow at Thunder in the Mountains, followed up by CryptidCon late November. Come hang out with us, Hellbent Holler, and a bunch of other folks. You're going to have an absolute ball if you make it out, but definitely make it to the Mothman Festival this weekend in Point Pleasant. You do not want to miss it. They've got a great speaker lineup. We're on it, so of course it's awesome. And then you're going to be able to just have a good time, because it's one of the best places to be on the planet this weekend is in Point Pleasant.
It's a party.
Thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight. You guys have been absolutely amazing. And
any ETA on Zenra cards? We'll get on that project after we get this one wrapped up. We got a lot going on, and we've got about 4 episodes that need to be filmed right now. So there you go.
Will there be an owl card?
I don't know yet, Tony.
Oh, come on, man.
I know. I've already been playing with those ideas.
So, guys, Beth, thanks for hanging out with us.
Tony, you guys.
Thanks for hanging out with us. You guys are awesome. We can't wait to see you out here next time on Wild and Weird Radio Live. And remember, if you're in Point Pleasant this weekend and you happen to see 2 aliens cruising around, you might want to take pictures, because plausible deniability. Stay wild and weird, everybody.
Yeah, that's a thing.